Yeah, let the big dog hunt. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Kallas Remarks with your host, Joe Staszak. My man over there is Steve Kallas. How you doing today, Steve?
All good, Joe. Looking forward to it as always.
Well, I got to be honest. I'm not sure I've ever seen a weekend of football like we just saw last week. In all the years I've watched, might be the best divisional round, best weekend of football, best 4 games I've ever seen consecutively. All of them came down to either overtime or a last-second field goal. It was incredible. Before we look ahead to championship weekend, because it is the Final Four now, let's take a little look back. We'll start with the Bengals and the Titans. I had the Bengals just because I go with the quarterbacks, although it was an up-and-down game, and then you think you're looking at overtime, and Ryan Tannehill throws his third interception of the game. I know it wasn't – kind of threw it got deflected, but that's a dangerous pass, and the Bengals cashed in on it despite giving up 9 sacks. No team has ever won a playoff game after giving up 9 sacks, and they hung in there. Burrow made plays when he had to make plays, and the Bengals move on. Second straight win on the road. First 2 playoff games for Joe Burrow, 2-0. Your thoughts?
Well, I found a couple of fascinating things in this game. First of all, when you're behind 6-0 and you score a touchdown, and I know what the analytics says, but you tie up the game at 6-6, and because there's a offsides penalty or whatever the penalty was, now you can go for 2 from the 1, and I guess analytics says go for it. They obviously didn't want the Chargers, miss 2 or 3 times from 4th and goal from the 1 or whatever it was.
Right.
But I thought psychologically, and I don't know that analytics really analyzes psychology. I thought for the psychology of the game, you'd like to be ahead 7-6. You just like to be ahead.
Sure.
Now it's 6-6.
You're chasing points now. You're chasing points.
Right. And this is not like baseball where an umpire makes a bad call on the ball strike. It changes the at bat. And you could say, well, yeah, but everything could have been different. This is a dead ball play. So everything else, I assume, would have happened anyway. This is not something that would have affected, except all these times, especially at the end when it became, 9-6, 16-6, 16-9, 16-16. All of those times, they would have been 1 point closer. And I think, again, you assume the game would go on the way it was. And if nothing else, towards the end, instead of throwing a pick, they'd be trying to run out the clock to win 17-16. And I understand that takes over 3 quarters and a lot of other things, but I just don't understand if you can get the lead, get the lead. And does it matter in the first quarter if it's 8-6 or 7-6? What matters to me psychologically is my team has the lead now. Instead, tied, they never went ahead, right? They never took the lead. And I think that was a big thing. The other thing I want to say is, as great as it was that Henry came back, he wasn't Henry. 20 rushes for 62 yards. He did score the TD on the Wildcat. But I thought Dante Foreman, 4 rushes for 66 yards. Yes, one of them was for 45 yards, but the other 3 rushes, he got 21 yards. I don't know if you're going to bench Henry because he did so much to get back and he probably gave your team a big lift. But I thought it was a mistake, frankly, not to run Foreman more. Not because he ran for 45 yards, because every rush he rushed, he was like, 7 yards or more. So I don't know. Then they got down the goal line late and they ran that 3rd and 1 play from very in close, and Tannehill faked it to Henry. And then he tried to keep it. I don't know where he was going. And then 4th and 1, of course, they gave it to Henry. So they had, 9 guys in the box, and they got him before he got within 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. And then, Tannehill, 3 picks, 9 sacks. Yes, you're right. But 3 picks, first play of the game, next one on the 4-yard line. Next one is they're driving downfield. Again, if they're winning by 1, they're trying to get first downs. They're not throwing the ball down the field. And then McPherson, give him credit, man, 5th round draft pick, I think. He was cold as ice. He made a 52-yarder like it was practice in the backyard. So yep. Tannehill's 3 picks overcame Burrow's 9 sacks. They held Mixon in check. I don't know. I thought it was a great game, but I think these coaches just outthink themselves. And they're probably afraid to pull the trigger on a star like Henry in a game like that, but I thought Foreman was running much
Foreman was
better
killing it.
and had been running when Henry was out, by the way. This wasn't a one-game fluke.
Right.
So give Cincy credit. Burrow, 28 for 37, 348 yards. But again, I think that was as much coaching and decision-making by the other team, when we've had a few games like that, as anything else.
Incredible. So then you go to Lambeau, where Aaron Rodgers hasn't had the best playoff record, and San Francisco. Again, I think I might have texted you. I texted a few people because it was getting late in the game and they weren't able to put San Fran away, and San Fran couldn't do much offensively. And I said, you let a team hang around and hang around and hang around, bad things happen. And they stuffed the Niners on a 4th down play late in the game, got the ball back, and he needed a 1st down or 2, got stuffed right there. And then the blocked punt, something you rarely see, even in the regular season, blocked punt, touchdown. And then, the Niners, did their thing from there and got a field goal to win the game. Just, Jimmy Garoppolo has not thrown a touchdown in the postseason this year, and he's 2-0, and Aaron Rodgers is going home. Your thoughts?
I think Aaron Rodgers is becoming Clayton Kershaw.
Right.
I mean, probably the MVP again. 0-4 against the 49ers in the playoffs. That's the worst record of any one quarterback in the playoffs against any team since 1950. And interestingly, I don't know if you remember this, I did not. I know Rodgers was very upset that he dropped in the draft, but he actually gave a quote. Apparently the 49ers, I think, had the 1st round pick that year. First pick in the draft. They didn't pick him, and they asked Aaron, he went to Cal, right? And they asked Aaron Rodgers at the draft, and he goes, yeah, the 49ers are going to regret that.
Well,
now, yes and no. But really, I think he's become, maybe this makes him leave. Maybe he's the quarterback of the 49ers next year. I don't think that's out of the question, although I forget the team. Oh, they're talking about him going to Denver.
He's going to be a Bronco, I think. Yeah.
And but I got to say, you're right. He went down the field like it was 11 against 7 on the first drive, and nothing the rest of the game. 20 for 29, 225 yards, no TDs, no picks. He looked like the only guy he threw to was, his boy 17.
Adams.
But my goodness, you got to give the 49ers a ton of credit. Jimmy G doesn't put up the stats. He made a couple of throws. He also got picked on the 4-yard line, which is what he does. But this Deebo Samuel he's the greatest weapon in the NFL right now.
Stud, total stud.
And this is without, tell me if I'm wrong, this is without Kittle having a really big effect on the game. But, they lost to Tampa Bay and Green Bay last year. Once again, you're 0-3 in the playoffs against the 49ers. Now you're 0-4. They're not scared of anybody. Robbie Gould, who really has now had a second career. Remember, he left the Bears and you
Seems
were like,
he's been around for 30 years.
It's unbelievable. But he kicks a 45-yarder like it's nothing. Which is, I've said it for years, and I think you agree. In the last 50 years, the thing that has improved the most is of anything in any sport is field goal kicking. If you can think or watch film of the old days where guys went straight ahead, compared to what it is today, you're surprised if anybody misses now from 45 or 50.
I know, right? Yeah.
And that just used to be virtually impossible. So I give the 49ers a ton of credit. I don't know what Aaron Rodgers is thinking when he looks in the mirror, but he can't get it done in the playoffs. Is it because of his team or is it because of him? I'll say it again. To me now, he's Clayton Kershaw. Look at his regular season mark. People say, oh, one of the 5 greatest quarterbacks of all time, maybe the most talented guy ever to play, and maybe. But now you got to start looking at him in the playoffs. 0-4 against the 49ers. Tampa Bay beat him in Lambeau. I mean, Lambeau used to be you couldn't lose. You went in to play the Packers in the playoffs. There's no way you could beat the Packers.
Right.
Now, they can lose every year. I even said, and we talked about it, how'd you like to get the number 1 seed and have to go through the 49ers and the winner of Rams Bucks to go to the Super Bowl? That's like the toughest That's like the toughest draw ever.
Yeah.
And I like the 49ers. I wasn't sure if they could win. Like, I loved them to win the week before. But again, they got the job done. So what are you going to say? All credit to them. Shanahan, to me, still trying to outlive Atlanta and New England. But I give him credit because he's doing without a top quarterback. Jimmy G can make some plays. He's 4-1 in the playoffs, but he was horrific in the one loss, the Super Bowl.
Right.
And I think the feeling in San Francisco, he's not really that Super Bowl winning quarterback, which I think is why they got Lance, right?
Yeah.
But I think Aaron Rodgers has to leave. Otherwise, they'll lose in Lambeau next year. I don't see, again, I thought Tampa Bay would win and beat them in Lambeau like they did last year. That didn't happen, obviously. But they go home early and they go home after having a bye. Interesting. Like, I think we both thought the Titans were a week number one.
Week number one.
But I didn't think Green Bay was in week number one. I just think they're eminently beatable in the playoffs. Why? Because they're eminently beatable in the playoffs.
I know. I hear you. And you mentioned Tampa Bay. Unbelievable game. I mean, the Rams, the Rams were the better team. How do I know this? Because they turned the ball over 4 times. They left a 47-yard field goal in 75-degree weather short. They fumbled at the 2 at the end of the first half. They fumbled trying to run out the clock. And, they have 42 seconds left. And I mean, the world's collapsing around them, and they decided to, hey, let's not, take a knee. And after a sack and a near fumble, I mean, it just looked like everything was going Tampa's way, and boom, boom, a couple passes to Cooper Kupp, including, a bomb. He outran a line. I don't know why they were in a Tampa 2 and had a linebacker on, the Mike linebacker on. I don't know what they were thinking there. Maybe some confusion, but I give them credit, but it was quite the game. And it was 27-3 in the third quarter, and the Tampa Bay Bucks came all the way back to tie it. It still would not have been Brady's biggest comeback in the playoffs if he got that done. Believe it, that would only been his second biggest comeback. Unbelievable. So it was a crazy game, but again, I got my money's worth. I'm a big Brady fan, but I like Stafford too. Kind of got the can't win in the playoffs thing. I know he won the week before, but Arizona was bad. I mean, he really had to come up with a play when everything else was going wrong.
Well, it was interesting because, of course, I was watching with my son, and we were already analogizing to, 28-3 Atlanta. He said, yeah, but, and we were at that game. I think I told you that down in Houston. And it was so fascinating to me because he said, for this game, yeah, but Daddy, in the Atlanta game, Patriots were moving the ball up and down the field. The Bucks weren't doing anything.
They weren't doing that.
It was a miracle. But I will give you the 6 drives of the Rams before the game-winning field goal. Their prior 6 drives were 3 fumbles, all lost, 2 punts, and as you said, coming up short on the 47-yard field goal that was dead down the middle. It's like, how is this not good? And it was short. So they gave and I think that's a big hole for the Rams. Now, give Stafford credit because he came back with those 2 throws. But on that final play, and it was interesting because I saw a thing after the game, I think it was on ESPN, maybe NFL Live or something, where they said, everyone said, oh, this was, full out blitz, 0, whatever. And in fact, Levante David had said, the prior time they had played the Rams and lost, they had some confusion calling in singles. And on that play, David was the guy who was supposed to make it a total blitz. As it was, I think they blitzed 6-on-6. And David never moved.
Never moved.
And Cooper Kupp ran right by. I think it was Winfield. I'm not sure who it was back there, but he ran right by him. So it seems like he was expecting help. But there was no help.
No help.
And David didn't rush. So they really couldn't get the full, of an all-out blitz. I didn't hear much talked about after the game. I saw some analysis, but I never heard anybody ask, well, what happened on that play? Because normally it seems to me, if anything, you're going to double Cooper Kupp. If you didn't do it the whole game, you're going to do it then and there. And they just didn't do it. So I give Stafford credit for making the throws, but they did everything but hand the game to the Bucks. And I think I think, what's his name? Didn't Suck Up miss a field goal earlier in the game? And he hardly ever misses for the Bucks.
He did. That's right.
hardly
He missed
ever
a field
misses.
goal in the first half.
So again, is that the turning point? I don't know, but you're right. It was 27-3. Apparently it was the first time Brady was on the bench at the end of a playoff game where they lost.
Interesting.
But I give the Bucks credit for coming back, but I'll say it again. Whenever I look at the Bucks, even last year when they won, and we picked them to win once the playoffs started because they were on such a roll. You look over and it's Bruce Arians. It's not Bill Belichick.
Right.
And Bill Belichick looks on the field and it's Mac Jones. It's not Tom Brady.
Right.
Even though Brady has won last year without Belichick, I still think they're the greatest ever together because they really need each other. This would never have happened. What happened with the final two throws to Cooper Kupp would never have happened if this was the Patriots and Belichick was the coach. Never in a million years.
I know.
Likewise, in the playoff game that the Patriots got slaughtered, I'm not saying they would have won with Brady, but it wouldn't have been 47.
Right. Right.
Was. And when Brady walks on the field, even if Buffalo got better, I think he would have,
Different story.
I'll never say they would have won. They lost by 30.
Right.
But to me, that greatest combo ever has been broken up.
Of course.
My son's already looked at the Bucs schedule next year, and he said, "Daddy, you have no idea how bad the Bucs schedule is next year." So will Brady come back and play knowing full well it's going to be real tough for him? Will he retire off of this incredible comeback / loss? He did say he wanted to play till he was 45, and he'll be 45 next year.
He'll play again.
I think it's a fascinating thing. And, he's not going to have AB. Godwin, I guess, doesn't get back till the end of the year. If you tell me he's back for the last few games, but their entire future hinges on whether Brady says yes or no. If he says no, if I'm Arians, I retire.
Yeah, you're done. You're done at that point.
And Gronk won't be back if Brady's not back. Gronk
No, don't blame him.
So I give the Bucs credit for coming back, but again, you need the other side to help. The Rams did everything but give them the game on a silver platter. And then to Stafford's credit, he made 2 great throws.
He did.
And they won the game.
Yes,
he kicked a 30-yard field goal. It wasn't a big one, but he kicked it.
Sure. All right. That brings us to, if those 3 games weren't good enough, we get to the night game on Sunday. 25 points scored in the last 2 minutes of that game. Now it was 47. I don't know what the total was. It wasn't over yet, but you didn't need 25 points. It was 47 before the 2 minutes. So it was probably going to go over, but it's got shattered. And of course, the thing, Josh Allen was phenomenal, bringing his team back, kept bringing them back. But then with 13 seconds left, that's impossible. The previous 62 times that same scenario played out in the NFL, the team that had the lead did not lose. 62-0, basically. So, yep. You can, again, fault the defense a little bit. And Kelsey kind of saw it, and he told Patrick Mahomes, said, forget about that route. I'm going straight down the field. And Mahomes said, do it. And the Bills were kind of playing, the sidelines. Well, here's the thing. Kansas City had 2 timeouts. They can go timeout. They don't have to get out of bounds. So, again, and he goes right down the seam. In 2 plays, they get into field goal range. And the kicker has to make the kick. Don't get me wrong. It's still, almost a 50-yard kick. And then they get the coin flip in overtime, and you kind of knew that whoever won the flip's probably going right down the field. And, just like it reminded me of the Brady Atlanta Super Bowl when you knew when Brady won the toss, the Patriots won the toss, the game was over. And the Chiefs went down the field, went for the jugular, Kelsey a nice catch, and they're moving on. What'd you think of that comeback?
Well, I will say this. I'm not buying into one of the greatest games in the history of pro football. There was like 8 guys on defense for the last few minutes in overtime. It was like a joke. I'm sorry.
It was a joke.
I understand the game is for the passers. I understand Allen and particularly Mahomes are super duper stars already. Mahomes is like a Hall of Famer to me already, and Allen is well on his way.
Yeah.
But, and first of all, I'll give the Chiefs some credit because they lost the Honey Badger like 3 minutes into the game.
Yeah.
And that changes everything for the
Matthew,
KC
yeah.
defense. Not that the Bills wouldn't have been dominant. I don't know if it would have been this kind of game. I don't know if they could have gone up and down the field. Like again, it was 11 against 7 for both teams. I don't know if that would have happened. But 13 seconds left. There was a lot of talk about why didn't they kick it inside.
Squib kick.
If you could run off 4 or 5 seconds there, then you'd only have one play instead of two. But you got to give the Chiefs credit. Mahomes is the magician. He's back in magician mode. Obviously, their defense isn't that good, but apparently the Honey Badger's coming back. He cleared concussion. He's in concussion protocol, but he fully practiced. This is Saturday morning we're taping. He fully practiced on Friday. So barring some miraculous, terrible thing, he's playing. So I think that's a big boost and a different boost. Although, again, Burrow lit them up. I know we're going to get to the game soon, but Burrow lit them up during the regular season. Now he's got Jamar Chase, who might be better than Justin Jefferson. But the beauty for Chase is he was a rookie, but Burrow was his QB. You know the story. We talked about it when Jefferson, and we loved him, scored 4 touchdowns in that semifinal game. Chase won the Biletnikoff Award. Then he sat out the next year, last year, because of COVID, while Jefferson set all these incredible records. So Burrow to Chase, Burrow to Jefferson. I mean, Jefferson's done great. Don't get me wrong. The Eagles almost drafted him, I guess, right? Whatever.
Very nice. Very nice.
But it's an incredible win for the Chiefs. It's a heartbreaking loss. But right now, based on the end of the season, I don't think the Patriots are with the Bills yet. And I don't know what they're going to do because they expected Mac Jones to grow up quickly, and he didn't. Towards the end of the season, I don't know if it was too many games. Some people talked about that, but he was, 2 turnovers a game when the Patriots can't play like that.
Reverted to the mean a little bit. Yeah, I hear. Again, as a rookie, I don't particularly care for rookie. I don't trust them early, and he might be okay. But man, Josh Allen home run, and I mean the quarterbacks were. The quarterback play was phenomenal. So that takes us to tomorrow. Also a 3:00 start, a 6:30 start. Well, we have San Francisco, who's won like 100 straight against the Rams, and they're plus 3.5. 4 straight road game for Frisco, mind you. And then, of course, we have the Chiefs and the Bengals, who played a few weeks ago, and the Bengals won by 3, 34-31. Joe Burrow had 468 yards, I believe, in passing. It was one of those 2 games where he combined for almost 1,000 yards. But the Bengals defense isn't all that. I mean, they're not that tight. However, they haven't given up too many points in the playoffs, while the Chiefs have scored 42 points in both games against the Steelers and against Buffalo. So anyway, let's start with the Rams and Frisco. Your thoughts on this game?
Well, look, my analysis as it was in weeks 17 or 18, 49ers had beat them 2 in a row, had beat them 4 in a row when they went to the last week of the season. Now, the Rams were playing for the number 2 seed. You can tell me that's not as important as the 49ers playing for the playoffs, and that would be true. That would be true. But I'm sorry, we talked about this when we did that game. The 49ers have now beaten the Rams 6 in a row. You walk on the field, and so it doesn't matter if you're playing in LA or playing where the 49ers play. And oh, by the way, I saw a fascinating thing on ESPN, not the kind of stat we would get, but apparently the ticket purchases are like 65-35 in favor of 49ers. But you know how they do it by zip code?
Yeah.
And apparently it's going to be, I'm going to guess, at least like a 50-50 stadium, which is fascinating to me. But to me, the 49ers are physically dominant. Kyle Shanahan's a magician. Jimmy G makes an occasional throw. By the way, against the Rams last time, so it was week 18, right? It was the very last week. When Jimmy G threw it inside the numbers between the hash marks, he was 30 for 36 against the Rams. 30 for 36 in those two games. Stafford has thrown 2 picks in each game. In other words, all I'm saying is, look, you ask me who's better, the Rams are better. But they don't have anybody like Deebo Samuel.
He's unbelievable.
Got Cooper Kupp. He's off the charts. Nobody has anyone like Deebo Samuel. He's like changed the league this year to me. And Kittle has kind of been quiet. Now, he's probably getting doubled all the time. You want to try and take him out of the game. Trent Williams has an ankle, but he's going to play. Now, he might not be 100%, but, with the pass rush that the Rams have, you need your best guys. And then I saw a thing on, I think it was my favorite show, the NFL Matchup, where they showed the reason that the 49ers can protect Jimmy G is because they go 21 personnel, 2 running backs. So they have the fullback and another back, and usually one or even both of them can stay in to protect Jimmy G. And I don't care how good you are, if you get doubled at the line of scrimmage and then you get through and there's a back there. So Aaron Donald doesn't have a sack in either one of those games. When Aaron Donald gets a sack, the Rams are 12-1.
I know.
Now, I don't know, so if he gets a sack on the 3rd play of the game, are they going to win? I don't know about that, but you get the point. And again, Jimmy G, whatever you think of him, he's 4-1 in the playoffs. Now he's not any of these guys. He's not Matthew Stafford. He's not Joe Burrow. He's not going to Mahomes or the elite, but he is 4-1, and he probably is kind of a game manager. The 49ers have averaged 145 yards per game against the Rams in these 2 games this year, and they've beaten them 6 in a row. My simple analysis is, as it was in week 18, they beat them 5 in a row. I like them. Now, they beat them 6 in a row. I like them. Can the Rams win? Of course they can win. And they're 3.5-point favorites, which I don't know where that is on the Joe Staszak lines of the world, but I'll take the 3.5 for sure, and I think they can win outright.
How many games did Alabama beat Georgia in a row before a few weeks ago?
7.
That's all I'm saying. I'll
Okay.
get to my pick in a sec. Let's talk Chiefs, Bengals. At KC, that really, I don't know how much that matters. KC's defense became KC's defense a long time ago. Of course, they were playing Josh Allen. Bengals can score. They got to, settle down on that offensive line, but it could be another shootout. I can't wait to see both quarterbacks, up and down the field. 7.5 points. I saw 7 today. Touchdown favorite are the Chiefs. Your thoughts?
Mahomes is 7-1 at home in the postseason. He's 23 touchdowns and 1 pick.
Woo!
They rushed for 182 yards against Buffalo, and for the first time all year, as far as I could tell, Mahomes with 69 rushing yards was the Mahomes of old.
Yeah.
On the one hand, they're telling him to be patient and stay in the pocket and make the short throws if you have to, but he cut loose against Buffalo. And I don't know that he's really done that much all season, but that's the extra level of play that he has that, to me, he hasn't really shown much this year. So the other thing about KC, and I do think it's important that they're playing home, Mahomes to Kelsey in the playoffs has a perfect passer rating. I don't know how the guy does it, but he does it, Kelsey. He gets open. It seems that every guy who's on the injured list for the Chiefs is going to play. Darrell Williams, Clyde Edwards-Hilaire's backup, who was real good when Edwards-Hilaire was hurt. He's going to play. Tyrann Mathieu looks like he's going to play. So I think they're going to get pressure. I'm not saying they're going to get 9 sacks, but since his O-line is not very good, I think they're going to get pressure with 4. Everyone forgets about, it's kind of like Chris Jones years ago when we talked about Chris Jones. And nobody, then he, signed a big game, then he had a monster game. But, nobody's really talked about Melvin Ingram. In fact, a few people have talked a little about him, but my goodness, with Chris Jones on the inside, now Melvin Ingram, I think they're going to get pressure. Are they going to sack him 9 times? Well, in the first game, week 18, not week 18, when they played Cincy originally, they sacked him 4 times. And the question is going to be, what are they going to do with Jamar Chase? Are they going to double him? I think you have to. 446 yards, 4 TD passes for Burrow in the first one that they won. But I think it's a different deal. You have so many championship winners or guys who have been to the, conference championship now. And since he really doesn't have any of that, but give them credit, they are here. But I think the Chiefs are going to be good.
Yeah, I do too. Now let's do picks. I mean, I know where you're going, but talk to me about last week and what do you got this week, bro?
2-2 last week. I'm deferring to Joe Staszak, who's 7-3 in the playoffs. I'll have to write a note on my Facebook group. to tell 350 people don't listen to me, listen to him.
No, I don't know, man. You got the track record though. You got the track record.
But I'm taking the 49ers plus the points, and I'm just going to pick them to win outright because they've won 6 in a row.
Okay.
I'm surprised the Rams are favored by 3.5. I understand they're at home. That does not stop the 49ers. The last 3 times they played the Rams, when the Rams were at home, they won. And again,
17-point down too.
They're physically dominant.
Yeah.
They're just physically dominant. Is that going to change? I don't think so. And then I'm going to take the Chiefs. I understand it's lane 7. I think since he lost 1 game this year by more than 7, but I think they're facing a juggernaut now. And if Mahomes is going to put the ball down and run, where he doesn't get 5, 7, 8 yards, he gets 15, 20, or 30 yards.
Yeah.
I think they're going to be too tough. But, if you tell me, you're going to take Cincy in the points, that's probably the intelligent pick because they keep games close. But this is an AFC championship game. The Bengals have, I don't know if there's any guys on the team who have been there. The Chiefs, there's got to be 20 or 30 or 40, including a bunch of guys who won a Super Bowl a few years ago. So I think they have the experience. I think they're home. Again, 23 touchdowns, 1 pick in the playoffs at home from Mahomes. And he now has played, I questioned them at the beginning with that giant victory, with that small victory against the New York Giants. And then with that joke victory over Green Bay when, Clayton Kershaw didn't play. I mean, Aaron Rodgers didn't play. So, yeah, I like the Chiefs -7. I'll take the 49ers plus 3.5, and I like them to win the game.
All right. I'm going the other way on both. I think it's the Rams time. I'm going to go with the quarterbacks here.
Well, they better listen to you then.
I don't know. Jimmy G, no touchdowns in 2 playoff games. And I think he's had 2 in the last 4 games that he started. He does win, but I like the Rams. I just think it's the Rams' year. They might be playing 2 consecutive games at home. If they win, the Super Bowl is also there in LA. And then because of what you said, I think the Bengals can keep it close. They don't have to win the game. Be a little surprised if they did win, but I know with that Chiefs defense, what I saw last week, and with Joe Burrow being as hot as he is, and he beat him a few weeks ago, and Andy Reid said, it wasn't a fluke. They're a good team. By the way, Andy Reid, the only coach in NFL history to go to 4 straight NFC title games and 4 straight AFC title games now. 1 Super Bowl appearance in Philly, and so far he's got 2 in KC with a championship ring. So we shall see, my friend. All right, good stuff. Let's just talk a little baseball first. Big Papi gets in, Bonds and Clemens do not. And you don't believe Papi should have got in because of that failed drug test?
Guy failed the drug test.
I mean, if you're keeping the other guys out because of that, why should he get in?
The commissioner of baseball came out and said that it should not be held against him that he failed the drug test that was supposed to be anonymous. I mean, I don't know how Rob Manfred got to be where he is. He's the one who said, what do you want me to do? Take back a piece of metal from the Astros? Yeah. Yeah. Plus, it's called the Commissioner's Trophy. Did you know that? He called it like a nothing piece of metal. I mean, there's just so many. And now it's a real problem because there's a real, lockout. Yeah. Now he really has to do something to get the game. But, he kind of helped put in the beer league softball rule, man on second and extra innings. I mean, it's just, it's unbelievable to me. I don't know how some people land on their feet like Big Papi. Barry Bonds, and I am not remotely supporting Barry Bonds. He never failed a drug test.
Right.
If you read Game of Shadows, not only what he did, but when he started. But I've said this to you before. If Bonds dropped dead the day he took his first steroid, he's in the Hall of Fame. He had 3 MVPs before he took a steroid. And every Major League Baseball player in the history of baseball who has 3 MVPs is in the Hall of Fame. I used to know the list, but I know it's guys like Campanella and Yogi Berra and Mickey Mantle. It's beyond me. He's like a popular guy. He always denied everything. Guy in the New York Daily News, Bill Madden, he wrote a great column. There was other fishy stuff that he was involved in. Not baseball related, but if you're looking at the character clause, I'll say it again. I think Bonds should have got in. I'd have to look at Clemens' record with the Red Sox, because when he left and Dombrowski, the GM, said he's all washed up, he went to Toronto and won back-to-back Cy Youngs in 2 years there. And that's supposedly when he started getting shots and stuff from that trainer. So I don't know about Clemens, but it's so hypocritical to me. And Big Papi got in with 307 votes, 77.9%. To me, that means he made it by like 2 or 3 votes. I don't know the exact numbers, but he just made it. And at a minimum, you shouldn't let a guy who failed the drug test, anonymous or not, be a first ballot Hall of Famer. That used to have some cachet as to how great you were. But no more. And again, I don't think he should be in. Play on the field? Absolutely. And he's lucky the DHs started getting in, right? Like Edgar Martinez, there was like punters. Forever, they wouldn't let a DH in. So not only is he just the DH, he's a guy who failed the drug test. I think it's terrible. I don't know what you think, but at a minimum, they shouldn't have let him get in this year.
No, I agree. I totally agree with that. But they did, and here's the guy who probably deserves some Hall of Fame recognition. But right now, we're talking his number was retired within the organization, the New York Rangers. How about King Henry getting a jersey put up?
I think King Henrik deserved it. I think he's a Hall of Famer, 6th most wins in the history of the NHL. A great goalie. You know, won a gold medal with Sweden in the Olympics. Never got the job done. Went to the finals against the Kings, where the Kings physically manhandled the Rangers. I think that was what, 2014 maybe. But I do want to look at it in a little bit of a different light that virtually nobody cares about. But he's another Ranger who never won a cup, who's got his number hanging from the rafters. And everybody went nuts. You know, they put up Messier, absolutely. Adam Graves. I'm on the fence on Adam Graves. He had like 3 good years, but, you know, he was a cup winner. Well, they had Leach, of course, Richter, the goalie. But I've written 10 articles in the last 20 years about this. The Rangers won their first 2 cups in 1928, their second year in the NHL in 1933. They had 4 players on those 2 cup winning teams who won 2 cups and all got into the Hall of Fame. Bill Cook, Bun Cook, Frank Boucher, the famous bread line, who literally were credited with being like the first guys to run plays as a line. And the best thing I can tell you about the bread line, because again, nobody cares, it's the 20s and the 30s. In 1972, when the Russians came, remember that whole thing where the Russians shocked the world and Paul Henderson became a Hall of Famer because he scored that goal. And you know, the Canadians, oh, we weren't in shape. They had 97 different excuses. The only question was, were they going to sweep the Russians or were they going to lose 1 game? And they almost lost the series. And the reason I bring that up is because when they asked Foster Hewitt, the greatest hockey announcer ever, was the Maple Leafs announcer for decades. When an announcer gets into the Hall of Fame now, kind of a communicators thing, he's given the Foster Hewitt Award. That's how great Foster Hewitt was. So they were writing a book about the Rangers of the 20s and 30s, because again, everyone's forgotten them. And Foster Hewitt, when he was asked about the 72 Russians, you know, they did things like incredible passing. They skated in front of the net. They passed the puck in front of the net. Nobody did that in the NHL. You know, years later, people said, oh, the Russians adopted to the NHL. I don't think so. I think the NHL adopted to the Russians and adopted their style of play. But they asked Foster Hewitt, is there anybody that the Russians remind you of? This is in 1972, Joe. He said, yeah, the Rangers bread line in the 20s and 30s. Bill Cook, Bun Cook, and Frank Boucher. I mean, that's incredible. Again, nobody knows this stuff. In addition, the 4 players, the 3 guys, and Ching Johnson was a defenseman, all in the Hall of Fame, all with 2 cups. The coach was Lester Patrick. And you know the legendary story of Lester Patrick. In game 2 of the 28 finals, best of 5, they're playing the Maroons. Lauren Shabbat, their goalie, got hit in the face with a puck. No mask back then. No backup goalies back then. But believe it or not, there was a rule, and this is true. If there was an NHL goalie in the stands and your goalie got hurt, if you got permission from the other team, that guy could come out of the stands and play for you. So they went in and they asked the Montreal Maroons coach, I forget his name, but Alex Connell was in the stands. I think he was a Canadian goalie, very good goalie. And they went to the Montreal Maroons coach and said, hey, Alex Connell's in the stands. Our guy can't play. Can we use him? The guy said no. The rule was he had to give you permission. And maybe in the regular season you would, but in the Stanley Cup Finals, best of 5, the Maroons are already up 1-0. By the way, all the games were played in Montreal. I don't know if that was because the Circus was at the Garden. I know for decades, when the Circus came to town, the Rangers played away games. Right. It might have been that early. I don't know. But in any event, all the games were in Montreal. So we win this game. We're up 2-0. We're locked. So it's 0-0 after 1. Lester Patrick comes in, shuts them out in the second period. The Rangers take a 1-0 lead. But Lester Patrick gives up a goal with 5 minutes later, with 5 minutes left, goes into overtime 1-1. Frank Boucher, the greatest Ranger of all time, we'll talk about that another time, scores in overtime. And this guy gets a playoff win. Now, I love Red Holtzman. They got his banner up there, 618 for the number of wins he had. 2 championships with the Knicks, right? His banner deserves to be up there. But he never scored 20 points in an NBA Finals game. He never came off the bench and shut somebody down.
Right.
This guy did.
Unbelievable.
So how are they not in? And I talked to our buddy Russ Cohen. I'm hoping he has the juice to do something. I also wrote, the first cup is in 1928, so it'll be 100 years in 2028. Maybe they'll finally do something on the 100-year anniversary. And I said, don't put up 5 banners with their numbers. Put up 1 banner with the 5 names. Right. And underneath, just put 2 New York Ranger Cups and Hall of Famers. Mm-hmm. Nobody up there, nobody can match that as a Ranger. And now there's like a dozen numbers. I don't know how many numbers. There's like a dozen numbers up there. So it's a disgrace. It's a total.
Waters it down.
So hopefully something will happen. 2028 is a long time from now, but it would be nice if something could happen before. If they're waiting for the 100th anniversary, that's beyond stupid. Lester Patrick, the Patrick name, has been in hockey for 100 years. Muzz Patrick, the Patrick's.
The Patrick division. Patrick. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'd really like to see them do something. And I take nothing away from Lundqvist. Great player, Hall of Famer, 6th all-time leading winner in the NHL, all-time leading Ranger goalie, of course. But again, you have that group of guys, and I love them. Gilbert, Hatfield, and Rattel, Eddie Giacomin, all great. Rod Gilbert, they never won a cup. I'm not knocking that. A cup's very hard to win now.
Right.
But those 5 guys won 2. And the coach came in and won the Stanley Cup Finals.
Love that story. That story never gets old.
True story.
Hey, great stuff, man. Enjoy the games this weekend. Of course, you can catch this podcast on YouTube every week and on Steve's Facebook forum page at Speaking of Sports with Steve Kallas. You can also check out his videos at westchestercountypost.com, also on YouTube. You can find this on my YouTube page, and you can follow me on Twitter at JoeStaszak975. Good luck in the game, Steven. I'll be texting you during them, and appreciate your stuff. Have a good one, bro. See you next week.
Always a pleasure, Joe.
All right, folks. Thank you. Appreciate it. God bless. Be safe, and enjoy the games.